Where's the
I
human?
already start. I haven't gone to that page that already started. Um, and yay, because that comment, we're now offbeat. Uh, does Thank you for that.
Shenanigans. You should
Uh,
keep it.
it's too late. We're already live. Thank you for adding to it.
My
But
pleasure.
why isn't it showing anything on that? I am now concerned and confused. Does it show
What?
me
I
a
see
blank
source code.
screen?
Not for me. Uh-oh,
Ah,
shenanigans.
there it is. Oh, I feel special right now.
You are special.
Okay, we're gonna have our official start. Here's our redo. Of course, my stream's still running. Um, Hello, welcome to Out of State DMing podcast. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and your
Co-host.
co-host.
I'm
Okay,
a
it just
co-host now.
okay. We'll work on the intro. So introduce yourself.
I, I would be Iskion.
To do it okay, we're gonna restart. I'm gonna say hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm gonna introduce myself, and I'm gonna go. Here's your co-host. Introduce yourself, and then once you're done, I'll move on. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Take 65. Um.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to Out of State Gaming Broadcast. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and your co-host.
Iskion.
Join
And
us
we
as
are
we.
already experiencing
You
shenanigans.
ruined it again. Ah, stop it. Stop. Okay. Take 72. I hate you so much.
You really need to
I
keep some of this in.
It's a live stream. I can't edit it out. So there's no you gotta keep it's hello. Welcome to Out of State DMing. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and your co-host.
Iskion.
Join us as we discuss 3.5 D&D. Today's episode will be centered around humans. We'll be going over several topics such as personality, relations to other races, alignments, religions, and languages, before moving on to racial traits. On our gun, we will then be covering some topics regarding regional differences. Thank fucking God that's over. As I have it on the wrong page,
Yes, yes, you do.
because why
Told you
can't I
it was
have.
my sorcerer, but you didn't listen.
Well, I'm trying to do multiple things at once, so you can hush.
You can multitask. I've seen you do it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you see I'm doing it? Uh,
No.
yeah, that's because you're anal going butt monkey. Uh,
You. Wait.
Now stop interrupting things. Uh,
Shenanigans.
okay. Yeah. Enough with the shenanigans. Now human talk.
You stop the shenanigans. We're talking about humans here.
As I look off screen and see something stupid. Uh, okay. Now in the thick of it. A lot of stuff for humans is pretty simple. This is like obviously, as it says, most humans are descendants of pioneers, conquerors, traders, travelers, refugees, and other peoples of random shenanigans.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're like a fucking it's herpes. Everyone has it. Uh,
We are a plague upon the D&D worlds of everywhere.
yes, that's an understatement. I love how when I go to they move the paid page, it's like, oh, we're just gonna show you absolutely nothing that's happening until you go back to this. Uh, Gotta love it.
Shenanigans.
Uh, yes. Uh, Personality. Humans are extremely adaptable personality. Uh,
They come in all makes and models and all types of alignments.
Yeah, yes, that's an understatement. Humans technically are the most versatile race when it comes to personalities, to the point where some communities can take on personality traits of other races because they adapt to dealing with those races a lot better than other races would other races. Because again, they're really good. That's one of the reasons why they are actually really good at dealing with like dwarves, elves, gnomes, and halflings. It's because they're just that good at adapting their personalities to suiting those particular races.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
they're also
great.
known for pretty much adapting certain aspects of other races' cultures into their local culture. You can see it with weapons, armors, architecture, and stuff like that. Oh, hey, we got a first hello. Why,
We did?
hello, Lavender Dusk. Oh, nine. Yeah, so we officially have our first commenter, and I feel special. um, that culturally wise, they can be extremely unique and different from other races, while simultaneously having things in common with their neighboring races. Uh, yeah, some of the most notable countries that can state, in-game countries that can state that they have really close ties to other countries would be like the Dominion of Greyhawk. One of their most prominent neighbors. What's happened to your video?
Good question. I saw that I was frozen and now I'm trying to fix it.
Yes, Lavender, you're first. No one else
First.
can. It's literally, yay! I was first. Um,
Okay, I'll
thank
be
you for
right
being
back.
first.
I don't know what's happening. I can't see anything
Turn
and I
off
was
your
frozen.
camera and turn it back on. See if that does it.
No. Okay, there yeah, I'm frozen still.
Uh, ec- loading screen of death. Um, exit the call and re-enter. Well,
Yes.
wait a few seconds, then re-enter.
Okay, I will be back.
Day one problems, am I right? Uh, I love day one problems. Just why won't we have day one problems? Any second now. Any second. It could be worse. You are correct. Um, yes, I know exactly who you are. There's no confusion there. Thank God. I forgot I have no audio on that, so that doesn't matter. Uh, oh, he's aware. He's aware. But thank you for the mention, though. And of course, now I'm all sorts of famous. uh, so hopefully, any moment now, my co-host rejoins us. But I will still go over the site topic because I'm not stopping the roll. He can catch up in a moment. Uh, but I was saying, the Dominion of Greyhawk, one of their most prominent neighbors is the Kingdom of Selene. Is it Selene pronounced Selene? Yeah, it's an elven kingdom, and it's one of their biggest allies. And even though that kingdom is pretty much almost solely elves, as in just a bunch of freaking not high elves, but gray elves, and one of the most powerful elven kingdoms. They still do lots of trade, culture exchange, resource exchange, military support, and whatnot. to a point that a majority, if not all, of the elves and half elves that dwell within inside the Dominion come from Selene. So the relations that humans can develop with other races is really, really strong. Uh, it's also one of the funny things that the Pomars, where the orcs dominate, just about all of the half orcs you'll end up running into in the Dominion are products from orcs from there, for obvious bullshit reasons, because orcs be orcs, and he's back.
I'm
So,
back because
uh,
technology.
the humans of the Choreographers have a great relationship with pretty much all their neighbors, whether it's other human kingdoms or some of the far off Dwarven and Gnomish kingdoms. They have huge it, and the Dominion. A lot of their weapons and armor uh, have certain reminiscence of dwarven designs, because for multiple times throughout their history, dwarves and blacksmiths were either working out of Greyhawk proper or doing heavy trade with Greyhawk proper. So a lot of the dwarven techniques were learned and adapted and incorporated into human shenanigans. It's like some of the more famous magic users you can technically say learned and adapted teachings from the Selene, which is again the elves, into how they properly do it. Because a lot of people will try to argue that elves are better spellcasters, but then it's when the whole, if you look up the named spells and then what race those spells are incorporated to, they're human. Mordecai, human. Odaluk, human. Um, There are several Odaluk spells, several Mordenkainen spells.
Wait,
God,
those two are Greyhawk?
yeah, they're Greyhawkian.
I thought they were Faerun.
No, they actually originate in Greyhawk, to the point where Odaluk has a personal mage tower in Greyhawk proper.
Well, then how did those spells trans over? How did their spells translate over to
Two reasons.
Faerun?
Firstly, Gary Gygax didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good reason,
Mordekainen, if memory serves, is one of his original characters. Like his original character, not just someone he
right?
made up, but it's a character he played when he was playing. So, of course, that character will pop up throughout a lot of space, a lot of different realms, along with all his spells, to the point that like he even exists technically in like Eberron, or like any of the realms. It's one of those. If the world goes, yes, Mordecai's disjunction exists. Mordecai's his laughter. If those spells exist, that mage exists within inside that realm. So it's like
So he's
Odaluk.
one of the right. So he's one of really the only of the few multi-universal people in existence.
Yeah, but it's also one of those weird things that you can have a character in one world become best friends with Odaluk, go to another realm entirely somehow, and the Odaluk there has no idea you exist or even who you are. They're the same, but that's separate.
Well, yeah, the multiverse.
Yeah, it goes into the D&D multiverse, um, which is a big hilarious thing on and what's itself, and to point that if you have a world where those entities don't exist, either those spells don't exist, or you have to remove the add-on name. Like, so instead of Mordekai's Disjunction, or Mordekai's Magnificent Mansion, you just have to remove the name. So now it's just Magnificent Mansion or Disjunction. The other option is to do a brief write up for an NPC that's responsible for why those spells exist within inside that realm now, to justify why that spell still actually exists. Uh, so you have to complicate it to uncomplicate it to make it make sense. Uh,
Sure.
but it's because of a lot of those random things that personality wise that why humans can still be really really weird. Uh, like despite the fact that there is a giant temple for Palor in Greyhawk, and when I say massive, I mean if you look at it in the city maps, you're like, what's that weird pyramid right there? That's the temple, and it's a big temple. Uh,
So would it be the size of one of the Great Pyramids?
uh, Probably. It's bigger than the Greyhawk Castle. So you have this really
But
big
how many
castle
people are?
where the Lord Mayor governs over Greyhawk and then rest of Dominion. And then right over here you have this massive fucking pyramid. Because that's supposed to be the dominant religion of Greyhawk, despite the fact that it's like don't pick an evil god. We don't care. Uh, and that's because the humans let the other races that dwell within the Dominion worship their own gods. So you're still going to find dwarves worshiping Morden, elves worshiping one of the several elven gods, gnomes doing their gnome stuff, halflings doing their halfling stuff. You, of course, are going to find some that are followers of Palor, but it's one of those, if you're a human, you're most likely worshiping Palor. If you're not human, they don't actually care. And like 20% of the population is not human. And that's like there's a 60,000 people in the capital of Greyhawk, with another like 30,000 throughout the rest of the domain. So it's a big city. It's a metropolis. Uh, there's three different quarters. There's the high quarter, uh, medium quarter, and low quarter. Pretty much the poor district, the middle class district, and hey, look, we're rich people. And each one technically behaves a little differently, so you can actually get different personalities from the people there. In the upper district, there is houses, the best shops, the Temple of Palor's there, Odaluk's Mage Tower is there. So there's a lot of really awesome cool shit there. Those buildings also are the most well kept. They look fabulous. They're constantly being updated with the modern stuff. Um, and that's where the people with actual money are. In the middle district is mainly just housing. There's some catacomb stuff for graves, but it's primarily housing. There's no markets or stores. There's a couple inns and maybe a couple bars, but that's pretty much it. When you get into lower district, it's like you're it's a different world because the houses are in the least kept shape. It borderline, depending on the area, looks like a compact shanty town. The roads aren't as well kept. It smells the worst. Uh, they do have a mixture of a burial mound and a catacomb system, and the people there are a mix between please help us because we're pitiful poor people that are struggling to get by, to if you walk in this alley, there's a good chance you're walking out with no money and a dagger wound in your back. And there is a low market there, so there's still market work stuff. There's still trade being done there, but it's still one of those areas that if you walk in the wrong alleyway, the odds of someone putting a dagger to your back and saying, "Give me your coin purse," is it's more highly likely to happen because of the criminal activity in that low part. Because a lot of people there are kind of forced into it. The farmers that surround Greyhawk uh, can be lumped into two distinct groups. The stay off my property, I don't care how hot my daughter is, stay the fuck off. And if you're willing to give me some coins, I'll let you adventure sleep in my barn, and be a little bit more accommodating. So it's like the nice ones, and then the I have a pitchfork and you look stabbable. Uh,
Everybody without armor is squishy.
yeah, but farmers usually go. I don't care how much armor you have. I have narrow pointy things, and I will find the sweet spot. So go ahead, come at me, bro. I'm putting it in your visor. So like you're in foreplay going, oh, I can see you. As then pitchfork thing just goes shoves right into your face. So it's like, come at me, bro. Uh,
That would be a bad day.
I just got a comment saying that my audio is very low and yours is overpowering. I'm gonna attempt to fix that. Is that better? Gotta give them a moment.
My output's like at less than 50 now.
Well, I lowered the mic auxiliary
Yeah, I
mixer.
can barely hear you.
Oh, you can barely hear me now.
I can hear you barely.
How about now?
Barely.
Okay, then it's probably not over. Okay, but this is streaming, so it might not be this. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's very quiet.
How about now? Uh, well, is it like louder or lower? Okay. Uh, well, it would be me. You're overpowering. Uh, well, because I have to figure out what the best balance with the audio mixer is. Because if I can't figure that out, then it's going to be slightly. No, that's not what I wanted you to do. Go back right there. Haha. Suck attach. Um, I just realized I have. It's showing me my stream audio right here, so I don't have to keep looking up like that. But I'm still going to keep looking up like that occasionally, see if it's actually coming in correctly. It did. Go hump a monkey. Uh, audio. Desktop audio mixer audio. Uh, that's hotkeys. Advanced display Windows audio. No, no. Did she fucking leave? I no longer feel special. I fucking hope not. Um, uh, yeah, succotash. A lot of the stuff is already disabled because it's automatically. Why the hell are you doing? I sent a message and then somehow kicked the speak to audio feature, so it was just filling it up with everything I was speaking. Uh, okay, nothing changed there. Maybe if I uh as they get to see me, voice and audio, output volume. How's that? Well, no, is it louder or not? Like super duper louder? Okay, that is good. Um, okay, does I'll go back and change it lower if it's becomes a problem again. Um, yeah, back to humans. Well, it's one of those if we don't keep track of the computer shit, then it's something we can't fix for next week. Um, but back to humans. We can move on to the physical descriptions now. Um, as you can see there, the range it gives for humans is between 5 and 6 feet. Uh, weighing 125 pounds to 250 pounds. Because it is randomly determined through the vital statistics, the height technically can be a little bit lower. There's like men, I think it's that men it might be 5 feet, so men can't get shorter than 5'2", while women it's 4, it's either 4'8" or 4'10", plus the two die they use. So it's like 4'10" to 5 foot is their lowest. We can, yeah, it's not average. That Yeah, because we can go to later. We when we go back to physical descriptions, we can go to the page itself to give those examples of it. Uh, And a big thing to note that not all humans are created equal in that site. Just even though this uses the generic, every human has this, um, we can actually go into certain regional stuff. Uh, if you're trying to be lore accurate for regions, some physical descriptions for humans will vary more for that region. To some regions, you're going to have people that the weight is more or less the same, but their height is taller. Then you have some where it's like, oh, their base height stuff is a little lower because the humans here averagely are shorter than humans in other locations. Uh, so it can get real confusing real quick. And the default is just use what it says here. Well, not actually says here, but in vital statistics. That way, you're not actually going into super duper details in height, weights, in almost misspoke, complexion. Yeah, my brain wanted to misspell that so fucking hard. Pardon my language, but just wanted to dive into just misspelling it horrifically. I'm actually going to remind someone that I am on because I think they forgot. Uh, um, but no, their deflections, like I said, people just keep it generically whatever the player comes up with and whatever DM decides not to veto. Uh, does in the generic terms, no one really cares. It's like in the Dominion of Greyhawk. You can run into people of tan skin, dark skin, bright skin, tan skin, reddish skin complexions. They don't really care. It's like there's uh they might, but one of the other things is even though certain cultures don't actually exist in D&D, uh there are some players that will pull their physical descriptions based on those cultures, and unless a DM either A knows that particular group of people doesn't exist, they usually just go, I don't care. Like for instance, there is no one that actually has the physical description of Native Americans. Uh, but I typically a lot of DMs I've played stuff with don't actually care if you go, well, here's my complexion. This is how my facial structure works. This is how my skin tone is. This is how my hair is. Generally, they're like, I don't care. Is your race say human? Do you have your height, weight, hair color, and eye color? You're golden. So it's kind of like if you have this filled out correctly, I do not care. And is that a problem? No, it's not. You can have great fun, great everything with it. Uh, but there have been DMs who've gone, you can't have that complexion, you can't have that, you can't have this because the humans of that particular nationality, that particular culture, don't exist. Um, and there's a difference between knowledge of what actually exists versus the ignorance of that knowledge. And it's like if people want to play anyone from like the Middle East area of the world, you can, because there is an entire actual region that's that that's there. So if you want to play someone, my brain's working on actual names, but if you want to play someone of the Arabic appearance, Arabic accent, the way their clothes are, the way they like to talk, you can, because there's a region with those humans there. Now, a funny thing is that region also is supposed to have a lot of dinosaurs in it, which is somewhat hilarious, but it is something that, like, if you want to play someone who fits the physical description of on Arab someone from the Arabic descent stuff, you can, because that area exists. If you want to be more Frenchy in how you sound, how you do stuff, the if memory serves, the uh, God, I forgot what the region's called. I'm not gonna go look it up. But there's a region, Hold of the Sea Princes. Uh, they uh have been depicted as being a mixture of French and Spanish. So like you'll have people who like look like suave uh Spanish pirates with the mustache, everything, the hats, the look, the way they like to dance and fight. And at the same time, the what? No suave. Um, no, but also from that same kingdom, you'll have French people. So it's like one of those weird things that if you know what the general the origin, inspiration, and stuff of certain kingdoms, you can get away with being certain nationalities from those set kingdoms because they exist within inside the world and they have certain origin. Uh, it's like if you wanted to try to be, I want to be Conan the Barbarian. Well, you actually have two options. There's the wolf nomads and the tiger nomads. They're literally just nomadic barbarians. One is heavily associated with the wolf, the other is heavily associated with tigers. But at the same time, it's like you can be a raging barbarian that fits the look, motif, and stuff of a what you think a Conan would look like. Uh, Zooming out a little bit and going down. Uh, as you, why'd I zoom out so much? It makes it look funny now. Well, when I click on my thing over here, it's shown out just enough that the letters blur a little too much. Um, you know, but moving past on that because we kind of beat that like a dead horse a little bit. Um, the relations, the humans, it's like I said there, they are ready to mix with each other. Humans, they mix with our members pretty well. Just as it says, they are known as everyone's second best friend. Humans serve as great ambassadors, diplomats, uh, magisters, merchants, pretty much anyone that has a trade route or do stuff with diplomacy. Humans generally are the go-to because generally speaking, everyone gets along with the human. It's it's like one of those weird things that because humans are generally everywhere, um, this is like herpes, everyone has it. Uh, they because of that they generally are just well liked and accepted for those particular roles. And to a point where some other kingdoms that are dominantly one race will sometimes outsource humans to help them with any form of political based shenanigans because like elves and dwarves generally are like meh. They either don't get along or they kind of get along. But whenever any of their factions, countries have any sort of problems, usually there's a group, 1 to 2 groups of humans there to help mitigate it. Because they both sides are going to actually listen to the human, consider what the human has to say, and not immediately start throwing any sort of racial slurs at one another. Because dwarves and elves kind of have that love hate relationship, while, like it says there, humans are everyone's second best friend. Pretty much between a lot of the races because they're probably the easiest race to just get along with in general terms, while the easiest race to actually get a grasp of what's going on with them. Because the only complicated part is like, is he from the Horde of Sea Princes? Is he from the Dominion of Greyhawk? Is he from that one up there? Is he a tiger nomad? Because once you answer that question, you know it's like, oh, he's a from the Horde of the Sea Princes. So he's probably a good sailor. Um, Probably likes to drink a lot, and probably really good at negotiating because sometimes pirates show up and you need to know how to talk your way out of not being thrown off the ship. If they're one of the 2 nomad tribes, it's there's probably going to be a fight. They're proud, they're stubborn, and they're prone to breaking things. If they're from their dominion, it's this is the humans you actually want because they have the most patience, the most understanding, the most diplomatic training when they send any form of diplomats or negotiator people or stuff there because they function as one of the primary trade hubs of pretty much most of the world. There Another reason for that is the Dominion usually has at any given time either the best military or the largest military. They also are known for being able to muster their military forces significantly faster than everyone else. Like where some people need like a couple weeks to a month to muster their forces to counter any foe. At any given time, it can take somewhere between a few days to like a week, and they're already marching a, a sizable military assets in that direction. And it's not just militant forces they wrangled up, but it's collection of militant forces that they can easily get within a few days to just go take up your pitchfork and start going in that direction. The Dominion needs you. To them taking up to a week to actually muster their infantry, their cavalry, and just get all that supply stuff going. And it's because they're in a almost near constant state to ready to go to war on either to fight off the Pomarsh. This every like 40 to 50 years, the orcs from the Pomarsh go, we're going to start conquering lands to the north because they can only go to the north because they're the other directions is, hey, is that open sea? Um, but they also are known for sending military aid to some of their neighboring kingdoms or farther away kingdoms that need some form of military aid because they're like, if you we lose trade partners, we lose potential help in the future if this kingdom over here ends up suffering, being conquered, or erased by this over there. They also have the best adventurers, the most adventurers, because when you have a on average population of over 60,000 just in your main city, the amount of shenanigans you can send in any direction is a lot. Because like Celine is that their capital city of memory serves has maybe 20,000 people in it at any given time, and they have throughout their entire kingdom maybe 50,000 people total throughout their entire kingdom. While Greyhawk, which doesn't, the Dominion, which also counts the Wild Coast in it, like I said, they have 60,000 people just in Greyhawk City proper. That includes the farmers. That includes their army. That includes all their trade stuff they're constantly sending out. And then they have like another 30,000 throughout the Wild Coast and the rest of their the Dominion province. So they have an extremely large population, and even though they're constantly sending units to fight some sort of random thing that pops up, that number never really goes down. Because if the orcs of the Promarsh were to stop doing their stuff, if the Greyhawk would, with the Dominion would go, we're going to stop sending military aid, their population would probably have a huge growth spurt because less people are dying. Well, significantly less people are dying. So a lot of the neighboring kingdoms are a lot happy knowing that they have their Dominion as like the they're like the UN. You know how like the UN will send people places to like help other nations and shit. Yeah, they are extremely effective because when they marshal for a cause, despite any and all political differences that may or may not be happening within the Dominion, they are pretty well for it. So if like the Lord Mayor says, "Hey, we got to send military aid to this kingdom over here. It's going to take like 2 months for any of our forces to get there. We got to get them there as fast as possible, as quick as possible." The populace goes, "Okay, how can we help?" Um, like the trade guilds will actually, or the trade guild will actually go, "Okay, we can start getting supplies up there for you guys. We'll take care of the supply trade." The adventurers will most likely either sign up as caravan guards to keep the supply train going, or they'll actually sign up as militia members to go help fight the war. Uh, while a portion of them will stay back to help protect and secure their dominion against anyone who might try to take advantage of it. And when I say their Adventures Guild is big, I mean it's big. It has like several thousand members in it that just work out of the Dominion. Uh, So they when they a bunch go, we're gonna go help protect the trade routes. And other ones are we're gonna go up and mess up this enemy, while other ones are going, we'll help secure the Dominion. They can literally do it, and it's not like, oh, there's like a couple dozen there and a couple dozen here. It's there's hundreds here, hundreds there, hundreds here. And it doesn't interfere with their business or anything at all. Most other kingdoms can't don't either don't have an adventures guild, or they have a relatively small adventures guild, and that's because Greyhawk promotes the Adventures Guild a lot more than any other kingdom, because they find it a lot easier to pay out adventurers to go take care of monster problems, to go help with minor things, than constantly spending resources to send people there. Because it's like the Adventures Guild will do it. They'll do it for several reasons. One, they're getting paid. Two, if they mess it up or failure to do it, it looks bad on the entire guild, not just that individual. So they stealth police themselves. Um, the also, if you are a um, member of the Adventures Guild and you have the proper um, guild ID, you can walk inside the city limits with your weapons. You do get a peace bond put on it, so that way, if you pull your weapon out, it does break, intending that you use your weapon, but you still get to have your weapon. While anyone else that's not a guard or a soldier has to turn in their weapons or just not go there with their weapons. And the adventurers are one of the few groups in Greyhawk, well, in the Dominion, that actually get to pull that off. While in other areas, they're not so lenient with the adventurers, and not so lenient with it. Uh, but because of a lot of stuff the Dominion does, the Dominion is actually liked a lot. And funny fact, the Lord Mayor used to be the Thieves Guild Master. I'm not even kidding. He was a career thief, became the guild master before becoming Lord Mayor, and no one cared. Well, it wasn't even that. It's he fixed a lot of the political BS that was going around. Um, got rid of a lot of the corruption. Got rid of a lot of the just he just got rid of a lot of the bad stuff, to a point a lot of the nobles and a huge portion of the population took notice of what he was doing and went, "Why aren't you running the show?" He got backing from the Church of Palor. He got backing from the from several powerful mages, including like Odaluk, and I'm pretty sure Mordecai also supported him. So he went, okay, I'll take up position as Lord Mayor, well, as a Lord Governor of the Dominion, and like no one fought him on it. Not even the people who were like his competitors in the Thieves Guild or stuff like that. Because even though he stopped being a thief, he stepped down as the leader of the Thieves Guild, which did upset a few people. But then he ran there, and he's not leaning on the thieves, by the way. He just went, for particular reasons, I'm not going to reveal where the Thieves Guild is, uh, but I will give them time to relocate stuff, because to a certain degree, after a while, I kind of have to, because laws are laws, and I don't want to, and I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm favoriting, thieves and burglars and whatnot. Despite the fact that the Thieves Guild, even though it operates with inside the Dominion, they're not known for actually burglarizing the Dominion. They target No, by acquiring non-deniable evidence of all this shenanigan bullshit. He no, it was not blackmail. He went straight to the authorities with a lot of it because he got tired of nobles getting away with pretty much murder, merchants getting away with literally robbing people. He corrected a lot of the stuff with the town guard. Because there was guards that were like looking the other way when actual crime stuff was happening. So he got evidence that could not be debunked. He got evidence that you cannot deny, and went, "Here's all this stuff that's been happening because of these nobles here." So the proper authorities were able to actually get rid of those people because, like, hey, you're we through all this legal stuff here, we now get to strip you of your status. We get to throw you in jail. We get to fine all this stuff here. And he spent like a few years doing this, not like in one night, but a few years doing this. Um, and when he, if memory serves, when he got on this role, a lot of the people that thought that, like, oh, he's gonna come after me next, either left the Dominion or completely turned another cheek and stopped doing it and started doing better. Um, he got rid of he did everything he could to get rid of the Assassin's Guild. This, even though it still operates within the Dominion, they're a lot more cautious about not only working within the Dominion, but where they do hold stuff and do stuff in the Dominion, because the moment he catches wind of it, he literally is like, yeah, anyone who's caught there is going to either have to do everything they can to escape, that includes killing guards, or surrender. Because if you force the hand of the guards are authorized to use lethal force to defend themselves. But they're there to arrest you. They'll start with saps and manacles. If you have to make them pull steel, then those guards aren't being charged with murder or anything. It's pure self defense in the line of duty at that point. But he's also one of the big ones that promoted a lot of the make relations with our neighbors better. Um, improve everything. And a lot of it, what he, even turn current timeline, a lot of what he's trying to do is just better everyone and everything. It's like he doesn't want the low district to be looking like at any particular point like it's some sort of shanty town. He wants to eventually replace the buildings with better, sturdier buildings. He wants to make the sewer system that goes in there a lot more sturdier, because sometimes like you'll see the road dip a little bit, and that's because there's problems with sewers. Either there's a creature down there, someone's doing something not supposed to, or it's really, really old. Oh yeah, here's another person saying that my audio is low. How do I uh well, it me and you are, it's like because you fix your thing, you have gotten lower, but I can still hear you. But if people are having problems hearing me talk, then that could be a, yeah, that's a very, very bad thing. Okay, fifth, is it better? Can you hear me now? La 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 la. La 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 la. Well, does it sound louder on your end? Okay, we'll put that there. Boom. Go here to check this. Uh, Advanced audio properties, desktop mic audio. Gets balance. Okay, I'm not seeing anything wrong. This is confusing because I have the desktop audio down completely because I'm not using desktop, I'm using the mic, so that's auxiliary. And that's all the way. Well, it's over the stream, not Discord. Okay, I'm trying this. I love the fact how I asked a question and it's like I'm not getting any feedback anymore. Of course, it's no one loves me. To see, I can't tell. It's like I need feedback, guys. Give me feedback. Give me feedback. Give me feedback. It's like what? Because Greyhawk is the biggest example for anything human. I was gonna do when we get into more regional stuff to do differences. Then I was gonna translate over that because it's basic then advanced. Does everything you read out of this handbook for any of the races is Greyhawk. So it's one of those things that the gods are the Greyhawkian pantheon, everything set up for Greyhawk. Even though a majority of players don't use Greyhawk because either A, they don't know anything about it, or B, they don't have access to the maps, or C, they want to do their own thing. It's all technically Greyhawk. Um, yeah, that's his baby. Uh, No, but let's try to stay out of that political thing because I don't want us to get hit. Okay, sound volume is at 100%. Oh, that sound bored. Uh, yeah, voice activity. Input 7 sensitivity. Am I louder for you or quieter? Okay, hopefully I'm actually gonna put it right here. Hopefully that's better. Okay, but just I love the fact that both the people that gave the input about the sound aren't giving any more input. So it's like I don't know if the value's been fixed or not. Yeah, exactly. They go poof. I mean, one of them's still watching, and I think I know what one, because she's, yeah, being suspiciously quiet now. Yeah. But moving past relations, just like I said, we just went over how like the Dominion's a perfect example of a actual really, it's an example of how humans have built a something that's really really good. Um, because we all love Gary Gygax for that. Uh, the next, yeah, it's alignments. Humans are all over the place with alignment. Yeah, dude, that's the easiest way to explain it. They are all over the spectrum. It's like it does it if the question is does the alignment exist? Yes, then humans can fall under it. Humans make the are known for being the best good guys, the best bad guys, and the best in between. They their ethics and morality can be anywhere on the spectrum of where they fall on the alignment chart. And it it's just one of those things because all other races have the tendency to fit within this box over here. This is where they want to fit. This is where they need to fit. This is how they do it. There is of course examples of ones that are don't fall within that box. There's examples of ones that don't fit. Well, I don't know why I keep dropping off, other than like me raising my actual voice. Is that better? How about that? Well, how does it sound now? Quieter or louder? Uh, yeah, I don't know what the technical problem is. Are you there? Yeah, it just said that we were disconnected. Uh, yeah, this was doing that because they like disconnected both of us for a while and then reconnected us. So we're obviously having some form of contactivity. English, I speak it. We are obviously having some sort of technical difficulty, uh, which I might have to do that because in order to show people that it's being weird, uh, I have no idea. Oh, it just. Give me one moment. People are probably going to end up losing some. Uh, yes. Uh, no, it's just in one of the things. It's being weird, and I'm trying to fix it. Um. Uh. Why is it not wanting to do that now? I am running to a actual display capture. Display cap. Uh. It's like okay, but I don't really want that because mm, okay. Yeah, our video's gonna drop for a moment. Just like I said, I'm trying to fix this. Uh, because it's trying to mess with us. This is like on one screen, it's like okay, that's perfect, it's great. But then the other one that's supposed to have stuff, um, screen A is now going blank because I tried to fix stuff, and the program screen, which is on the right side, which is what the people are now seeing, is this. So okay, why is it now using this format? What is default? Okay, reset properties. Uh, okay, put this there. That should work. Okay. Add. Is it this one I want to use? No, it is not that one I want to use. Gotta love day one problems. That shite show. I don't want that. I already kicked that. Mm. No, it's not that either. Okay, yeah, that actually, if it lets me, I can go ahead and do that, but I can. Wait, is this one it? No. Well, because I had it working a moment ago, and now it doesn't want to actually do what I want it to do. um, yes, because it's deciding to be weird. We just got a comment of gremlins. Huge. Uh, Yeah, things will go bad. Did he decide to? Ah, ha 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 ha. Will this actually? I don't think it will. Uh, okay, I don't know why does. Okay, uh, okay, that's not working quite like I wanted to. It is, but it isn't. God, bloody filter more. Mm, uh, I hate how it's still gonna do black thing and transition fade. Yes. Haha. Why is there? That's somewhat better. Um. Yeah. Now we can move on. Uh. Because yay, the I don't know why it's cutting out the camera feed for some weird reason. Uh. But yeah, like I said, the human relation human alignment is literally something that's just everywhere. um it's hard to explain because I said it's theoretically they could just be any alignment they actually want to be. If they want to be evil, they can be evil. If they want to be good, they can be good. If they want to be this, while other races have tendencies to go for more one alignment. Using one of my favorite races, hobgoblins, they're they're lawfully militant. They love structure. They love the what? Well, no, you add things like that. Like that. This is not just law following; it's military law following. They love the structure, the order, the way it all works. Works because they are heavily militant. To a certain degree, yeah. Because even though they're less likely to technically break laws because they are lawful by nature, they are more prone to military based structuring with a lot of how they work. That's why, compared to other goblinoids, they usually have the best of all the equipment. They have the best weapons, the best armor, the best kept weapons and armor. Uh, they're more prone to actually using marching formations, actually having a good morale system. A pecking order is generally really good. When you look at like it depends on the setting. If you're using Grey Hockey and standards, they're somewhere between lawful neutral and lawful evil. So yeah, yeah. Um, well, like I said, it explains how they work with their lawfuls. For instance, when it comes to chaos, there's multiple forms of chaos. Like for instance, some of the most law-abiding citizens you can find are rogues. Do you know what alignment rogues most likely? I mean, most, if not all, rogues have chaotic neutral. But yet they're the most lawful people you'll find. Not because they're actually following the laws, but it's because like, I know all about those laws because they pertain to how much trouble I'm going to be in once it's revealed what I've actually done. It's like the movie Law Abiding Citizen. Great movie, but it goes into the whole Coco. I don't care what mom's doing. Stop. Coco, come here. Come here. Come here. Up. Up. Everyone say hi to the dog. Uh, Stay. Um, but no, it goes into you. They know the laws. They know how to follow the laws. They know how not to get caught. And that is one of the biggest confusions that a lot of people have about why is this when they do this over here. It's like, for instance, the drought. Big what WTF with a lot of what they do because they are really chaotic evil. I mean, like at any moment they can do random stuff, but they are one of the most lawfully strict races you will ever come across. Uh, their laws are set in stone. If you violate the law, you get punished by the law. And it's not just like, oh, it's just it's all over the place. This is like, here's our infrastructure, here's our laws, here's how everything's enforced, here's all this stuff here. So if you look at it, you're like, wow, that's a really lawful society. Like, hugely lawful, one of the most lawful societies you ever come across because of all of this lawful stuff they have. But then you look over at any of the drow and go, why are they chaotic? Make it make sense. It doesn't. Did that betrayal is a big thing about that stuff. And they even have laws on how you're actually supposed to do it. To the point that, to a certain degree, you can legally get away with betraying someone if you follow all these steps. But it's still one of those things that, is it really chaotic if you're technically following a structured order of operations to do it? Because it gets complicated, little diluted, and just weird. This alignment can be extremely weird that way. Which is also another reason why humans can be really weird, is because you can get humans from a society that you would think and put as one alignment or in this grouping of alignments, but the human isn't in those groupings, but you would think they're in those groupings. It's like going back to the Dominion. The Dominion is what you can call a lawful good society on paper, but they're more, if you take everyone as a whole, they would actually qualify more as a neutral society. There's plenty of people that follow the law that you would say are lawful, but there's also plenty of people that just do random chaotic bullcrap. There's plenty of good people in there, mainly because there's a big temple of Palor there, and being lawful good is all about what Palor loves. He loves lawful people, he loves good people. But you can also find that there is evil within inside the Dominion, because nothing's perfect. It's just the good guys have a bad habit of winning. So it is, well, it is a bad habit because a lot of the villains have popped up in Greyhawk, well, in the Greyhawkian world that have become, their entire thing was there to mess up and to ruin stuff with, like, Greyhawk, is like the amount of times Vecna has made an appearance, and it's like, oh, here's Vecna. He's going to do all this horrible stuff here. He's going to, like, just ruin stuff. And then a random group of no name adventurers pops up and defeats him. And I'm not talking about ones that's like, oh, I may be no name. That's because I don't go for fame, but I'm really a powerful paladin, and here's my best friend, an archmage of renowned standing within the archmage community, but he's a no-name adventurer. Here's his awesome thief that has equipment that's a backstab undead. No, it's literally like we started adventuring last week when Vecna started to become a problem, and now within a week we're defeating Vecna. So it's pretty much low level, no name, showing up, defeating him with the whole like, oh, we're gonna lose, we're going to do it, but then suddenly someone pulls something out of their butt and goes, haha, we win, and now Vecna's defeated again. Uh, well, it's the thing is like Vecna's like he brings a game. He's like there's been times he's shown up with huge armies, supported by like a bunch of liches because he has lich subordinates and stuff. And he's like, it's like one of those like, okay, we're going to need like at minimum like 15th level or higher characters to defeat all this crap, and that's not counting the fight with Vecna. That's just about defeating the large number of skeletons and zombies, the variant of other undead that are may or may not show up, the large grouping of liches, and hopefully we still have enough juice left to defeat Vecna. But no, it's like here's a group of like 5 level 4 characters defeating Vecna because they miraculously somehow. I'm not even kidding. There was one campaign I actually like stepped out of because the DM was bringing in. It wasn't Vecna, but it was another powerful undead that was like a CR 21 creature who was leading a army of like several thousand zombies being supported by 6 liches and a Draco Lich. And the party, no matter what, was beating the crap out of all these skeletons and zombies. It's like you fought skeletons, you know just how much of a pain in the butt they are. They may not have the best of hits, they have okay damage, but their AC for low level characters makes it slightly difficult because they have like a 15 off the bat, non modified. They have decent hit points. If you're not using a bludgeoning weapon, your chance of you doing actual damage to it is limited. But it's like, why is this guy with a rapier one-shotting skeletons? There's nothing on the rapier to make it do that. It's like I'm a dex-based fighter. It's like, no, you're a rogue with a high dex. I stab at thee. It's like you rolled a 14 total. Well, not roll from you got a 14 total. You missed, but how are you hitting? So it's like it's like these it's like people don't know the difference. They set up these hard fights. They set up these things that seem impossible, but then they pretty much let extremely low level characters that shouldn't be involved in that fight. There should be proper build up. There should be this curving adventure hook where they're doing something to get the equipment, get the experience, get everything they need to actually combat this stuff. But they throw them in it and just let them win. It's like why are they being let? And when I say let the win, I mean it's like you should be missing these attacks, but you're hitting instead. You should be sitting there regretting using a low, I mean, not even the best piercing weapon. It's a rapier. It's a low damage weapon, and you're. It's yeah. It's like boom. It's like why is the guy with the rapier one-shotting skeletons? It's like he's rolling horribly, but he never's missing. He's rolling low on the damage, but he's always one-shotting them, and he's just boom. And he's for some reason it's always being missed. It's like what is he wearing? Okay, he has a 13. He has a plus almost a 13. He has a +3 dex and padded armor. He has an AC of 14. Okay, that's 1 point lower than the. Yeah, it's like the skeletons are harder than he is. He is, and like the DM is like always missing. It's like that's statistically not. It's like even though like the skeletons only have like a +1 to hit, it still occasionally will hit. But it's like, okay, he just ran into a group of like 15 skeletons, killed them all relatively quickly, and didn't get hit once. They had flanking. They had him surrounded. It's like, it's like, it's like you look over and you see the DM. He's like, "Oh, I missed." It's like there's a 16 on your die you just rolled. How are you missing? Because he has a really high AC. Because he has a high death. It's like he has a 14. How I'm getting confused. And it's like, okay, we're now fighting. It's like, okay, we defeat a bunch of skeletons. We're now moving to zombies. Same thing. The guy with the rapier, Curb's beating them. The guy with a mace, which is the person you expect to do good against the skeletons, is he did good against the skeletons, but then he's also doing just as well against the zombies. It's like they both have the wrong weapon to bypass it. And it's like I am confused. Why is this? It's like why are you letting them just steamroll this? It's like you said you've spent like a month setting up this big fight, a month setting up all these bad guys. Not a few hours, not a few minutes, not last minute or thing. Like it's like you spent time because you wanted this big epic battle. There's nothing epic about it. We're literally steamrolling through all this stuff. We're rolling. It's like sometimes they're getting in single digits, but you're hitting. They're doing crap damage, but they're one-shotting everything. And then when we get to tougher undead, like liches, it's like, how are the liches not steamrolling us? It's like me going, we should probably run for the rest of the party. No, we can defeat them. Liches somehow don't kill a single person. Somehow don't kill a single person. 12. Yeah. And the only excuse the DM has is it's Greyhawk. Greyhawk always has impossible odds that the heroes always defeat with no problem. That's his reasoning. That's his cause. It's like we're we're not even trying. It's like I swear the barbarian just like walked 5 feet and 5 zombies died around him. He didn't swing yet, and you're already saying he's killing zombies. How? What did you give everyone? Oh, son of a donkey. Uh, my tower said it ran into a problem. It needs to, well, my tower, not my this. My tower said it ran into a problem and it needs to restart. So I got the partial blue screen. Does it still showed our us up? They're not moving or anything, but frozen in someone of the book. So it probably means something didn't update properly. Which I hope that's not the problem. Because I wanted to start using my tower to do stuff again, but I can't if it's going to be giving blue screen of death. So hopefully it's resolved. Well, luckily it's not interfering with the stream. Yeah, because I'm straight up because the laptop is what it's going off of, and I don't even know what the problem was because it just due to the overlay of it uh showing stuff. I forgot. Oh no, it's not. It's right there. Yay. 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 Yes, we're back. Um uh no, but it yeah, of course we're back. So it is one of those weird things that because people favor certain story arcs, stuff gets stupid real quick. Uh the main stupid part is it's like it's supposed to be a hardship. It's supposed to be something that we need to try to pace ourselves. It needs to be actually make some form of logical sense, but then turn around and it's like, why are you treating us like we have epic ACs? Why we have the ability to never take damage, the ability to never get hit? You're okay. Stop. Lay down. Lay down. It hasn't been that long, dogs. Behave. Um, it's like, why are you treating us like we have all this epic stuff? It's like, we just made it to level 2. Why are we fighting a lich, let alone any liches at all? Because, like, no. We don't have the saving throws, we don't have the AC, we don't have the hit points. Exactly. It also doesn't help the fact that technically the AC, well, the CR rating as a group would technically be high enough to disqualify anyone for XP because it was way over 7. Yeah. It's not me GMing, just even though I don't like killing my party members, I also don't like purposely maliciously setting up an entire encounter that they shouldn't freaking win. So like I had to, it's like that's a campaign I had to walk away from. And they're like, so what? You don't like Greyhawk winning? It's like, no, I enjoy Greyhawk winning. I love Greyhawk winning. Winning. I I want to feel like I accomplished something though. I don't feel like I accomplished anything. I felt like I just showed up. You said we won, and now I'm leaving because why are we? It's like what? Why are you even having us roll? Like I said, the barbarian walked past like 5 zombies and they died. It's like that. That does he have some sort of aura of zombie killing? Uh, it's called Turn Undead, and if your total level as a cleric is equal to or greater than twice the hit die of the undead that are affected by your Turn Undead, they turn to dust. Yeah, that's a cleric ability that he has to activate. It's not a I walk by and suddenly things are dying around me, and it's like I'm all for a trying to do an epic battle, but this has gone from like an epic battle to you're just saying we won with it's like why are you guys happy? We just showed up. That's all we had to do was show up. Uh I realized we've got off topic hard. Like not even soft off topic, hard off topic. Uh yeah, shenanigans. Yeah. Uh we technically by going over the Dominion of Greyhawk, we've covered human lands. Uh because they are usually in flux. New ideas, social changes, innovations, and new leaders constantly coming to the fore. Well, to the fore. Yeah, it's because humans are also technically one of the shortest-lived races. A lot of times, a lot of the other races don't know what to do with their political things. Because like an elf doesn't reach adulthood till like 110, and humans max age. I think it's like not even 100. So a majority of humans are like an entire like a literal huge generation of people would have been born and died of old age before a single elf reaches maturity. Um, so a lot of the politics and stuff that uh, and lands that humans have are constantly in flux and constantly evolving at a slightly better, faster way than any of the other races because of how short-lived humans are in comparison. And it also doesn't really hurt the fact that humans because they incorporate other races into their communities, because they're never truly 100% human. Part of what those races bring to increase how fast their lands can develop in any which way, because they're like, oh, here's this idea that this gnome had, so I'm going to find a way to implement it. These dwarves have really good techniques. I'm going to find a way to implement it, and it's constantly evolving. Uh, Languages are funny and simple. Uh, Humans generally don't have any true uh, restriction on languages. Because they can speak common, they typically learn other languages as well, including obscure ones. They are fond of speaking their speech with words borrowed from other tongues, like orc curses, elven musical expressions, dwarven military phases, and so on. Phases, phrases. So, like they'll throw in the lingos of other races into it. Because the best way to explain common is English. Like, because depending on that particular human society depends on if you're like, wait, that's not a human word that you just threw at me. If they're like, oh yeah, it is, it's because that particular group of humans have taken lingo from um, orcs because they have multiple half orcs and they have to deal with a lot of orcs. So certain orc phrases, mainly curse words and stuff, get utilized in common speak. To a point where not even all of the humans speak orc, but they know what that word is. It's like I don't speak Korean, but I know a few curse words in Korean. Um, I'm not even going to use them just in case I upset people. Um, but it's like one of those things that like you go in a community and you can occasionally catch words that you know aren't common words, and you're like, oh, it's humans being humans. Um, but humans do have a tendency to also pick up obscure languages, and it's one of those. As the way I take it is, as long as it makes sense for the human to know the language, it give me a reason for it, other than I'm human, because the I'm human is the biggest reason why a lot of people magically, conveniently speak Aquan or Infernal. It's like, what? You have the backstory of a farmer. Why are you speaking Infernal? You you you're a fighter. It's like their reason, I'm human. It's like, from what I know from your backstory, you're a simple farmer that's trying to earn extra money to help your parents out with their farm. Where's the spiciness that lets you speak Infernal? What led you to learning this because you're a fighter? If you were a bard, a cleric, a wizard, or a sorcerer, I would be more accepting of that, because to a certain degree, they those particular classes backgrounds would give that opening, especially magic users. But their go-to response is, "I'm human. That's why." It's like, I would have accepted that. But again, they never put some form of logic behind it. They go, I'm human, I have a high enough intelligence bonus to know these languages, and because I'm human, that's why I have these languages. It's never, can you please make it make a little more sense other than because I'm human? It's like going, oh, you speak orc. Well, that probably because and using the Greyhawkian version of things, they commonly have to deal with half orcs and orcs, so it makes sense. They, dwarven. They have to deal with dwarven. Same with like halflings, gnomes, elves. If you're associated with arcanists, that's where you get your draconic in. Because you have a bunch of friends and or relatives that are sorcerers and wizards. Well, the base language of magic is draconic. So it's like you doing your best to keep up with what they're saying or talk about. Okay, now that's why you know like Draconic. You're best friends with a paladin, so that's why you know like Celestial. You fool around with a bard, so that's why you know Giants, because they like to make jokes in giants. So it's little things you can add in to make it make sense, make it logical, and stop any argument or fighting. But people like to go, I'm human. If you're a human bard, that's pretty much no argument. Just bards, because of their high high affinity for social endeavors, their high affinity for being everyone's friend, for wanting to talk to everyone, to wanting to share information with everyone. They learn any language they can. So for bards, it makes perfect sense for you to know all these languages, for you to pick up on all these languages, because you're a bard. But the biggest thing is I'm human. I get to know it because I'm human. It's like uh but then when you go into certain settings where it's like, yeah, you may be human, you may be technically able to learn a lot of languages, but in the world I use, there's no such thing as actual common. There's continental common, which is the common tongue speaking throughout that continent. There's city-state common, which is the cities that you're from. So when you start off with common, it's your city-state. If you have a high enough intelligence, you can get the continental. But if you want something that counts as a universal common, it's straight tongue. Then it gets into what languages you would actually know based on what races are available in that area. For instance, if you're like, I want to be able to speak Nizumi. Well, you're from this continent here. Nizumi aren't are up here. So if you're here and they're here, why are you learning the language? If you're a bard, I can probably say okay because you hung out at the taverns by the docks and stuff like that. Like that, you exchange information with other bards at the bardic college. But that race is all the way up here. You have no reason to know that language because the chances of you interacting with that race would require you to go up there to actually properly learn it. It's the same, but it's not the same thing for Draconic because like the city of Oposa is ran by the Lord Mayor of Oposa is also the guild master and head circle mage of that mages group. So a lot of people speak Draconic there, like a lot of people. Like for instance, they have a council of 500 mages. So coming from there, even though Reverin are found over here, which is the only race that naturally just automatically gets Draconic because they're type of Dragonoid. If you're from Oposa, you can justify why you know Draconic because it's a common language found there. Especially because the Mages Guild is doing everything it can to help everyone. They're everywhere. So a lot of people take it, not because it's like, oh, we want to go talk to dragons because there's not that many dragons left in the world. They go, oh, it's because we can better communicate with the Mages Guild that way, and people that associate with the Mages Guild because that's the language they like to speak in. That's the language they like to write in. That's their preferred language because they're magic users. They love to do the magic shit. So in a world where languages aren't so easily justifiable, that's where you get into being able to literally go, no, you have no reason to speak that language or do anything like that. Uh, so it just falls back to covering all your bases, covering all those things there. Uh, Human names are just as goofy. Up to just like its second says here, it's like human names are very greatly without well, yeah, greatly without a undefining deity to give them a touchstone. For their culture, with such a fast breeding cycle, humans mutate society at a fast rate. Human cultures, therefore, is more diverse than other cultures, so no human names are truly typical. Some human parents give their children dwarven or even elven, pronounced more or less correctly, names. So when it comes to human names, you can literally go somewhere like, wait, your last name's an elven name. It's an elven name. That why? It's because when that family was doing stuff, they adopted that as their last name. Name. Or you can run into someone going, wait, your first name's a dwarven name? You have a dwarven name? And it's like, well, yeah, it's because their parents did shit with dwarves. They really liked dwarves, so they were named after a dwarf. And because of the short breeding cycles and stuff, there's just a crap ton of names. So they'll literally pull names from other races because well they can and they just do it. So will is it can you find people well humans with halfling names? Yes, you can find humans with gnome names. Why? Because their parents liked it and gave it to them. Just like in real life, when you can run into some really silly names that sounded like they went to say one word, stubbed their toe, and finished it with another word entirely. Uh, and humans in roleplay aspect are the same thing. If it sounds like a cool name, they'll give it to them. So when your person's developing the character, they are literally not limited to any form of uniformed thinking when it comes to their name because it can literally be anything that sounds cool. You can run into people with dragon names. You can run into a person that has nothing to do with nature, but their name sounds a lot like a familiar tree folk. Because I'm like not kidding. Their names can be anything. I don't know. It's like uh the I think the funniest name I've ever had for a human was the last name, and it was Picklebean. Uh, it's funny because it was Eric Picklebean. He was an aspiring blacksmith, and he came from a family of picklers. So, uh, because it's also a thing. It's technically speaking, in game terms, um, you technically don't need a last name for humans. Do you know why? Well, it's not just because it's not common. It's because your last name is your occupation. That's why people who have like my last name Smith goes back generations. It's because their family were Smiths, and so they earned the name. So when you have certain names, because it's become less common now for them, but there's certain names that sound like an occupation or like some sort of job description. It's because that's the origin of the last name. It wasn't until it became more for documents wise more important for people to actually have last names That's why like nobility and nobles and stuff had last names because it was more prominent and necessary for them to actually have last names while the common folk didn't. And since technically D&D is supposed to the slight era of how everything is supposed to be like the 1400s ish, like 1400s Renaissance. Uh, if you're technically if you're playing a human, you technically don't need those names. Other races, names are kind of more important when it comes to your last name because it signifies a lot. While humans, unless you come from like nobility, yeah, some form of nobility or royalty or something like that, you technically don't need a name. because if you had a last name, it was considered. It's one of those. He gets a last name, and it's because everyone's a red shirt because it's a Star Trek. If you have a last name, you actually get to survive. If you don't have a last name, you might as well wear a red shirt. Funny fact, because of that became so prominent of a fact, there was a point where the people doing Star Trek started giving important characters red shirts to try to break it, but it didn't help the fact that a majority of the people that still died still had red shirts. Like security, red shirts. Most, if not everyone in the military, red shirts. Those are the guys that die a lot. But yeah, so they started giving other people red shirts that actually had last name, actually had reoccurring roles and stuff to try to break that. But moving on the weirdness of human names, uh, adventurers, humans who take that adventures, just like it says, they are the most ambitious, daring, uh, members of uh, audacious society. Uh, Up to they can earn glory in the eyes of their fellows by possessing power, wealth, fame. They are more likely than other people to champion causes rather than territories or groups. So like, humans are one of the biggest groups who actually find going and being adventurers and heroes and stuff simply because they want to. That's also why like, whenever there's any like, crusades against evil, there's a lot of humans there. When it comes to like, we gotta defeat this evil monstrosity. There's a bad guy here that needs defeated. You're more likely to have a larger percentage of humans trying to do it because they're that easily to incite to take up those causes and stuff. And it doesn't help the fact that doing so usually gets them some sort of power, wealth, or fame. Yeah. Um, so they do generally like to champion those things and stuff a lot better. Uh, when it comes to human traits, however, they don't necessarily get a lot. Uh, what do you mean reload? There was a my tower had a minor other hiccup for some weird reason. Um, but going back to this, no, but when it comes to human traits, despite these traits, however, people like to say humans are weak, pathetic, and useless to play, because they don't offer actual racial benefits, despite the fact that they have their two primary racial benefits are really good. The first one is they start with additional feet, which means while everyone else gets the level 1 feat, they're getting 2 feats. That's really good because they get to start out with better whatever it is. A feat that better increases skills, feats that let them do extra actions because, well, they get a feat that lets them do it. The other, oh yeah, because you get those feats. I mean, because you get that extra feat. You're not so like, I need to pick this one feat, make it perfect. You're like, I get to pick 2 feats. Ooh. And if you're going like a human fighter, you start with 3 feats. One fighter feat, one first level feat, one human feat, which the uh, second 2 feats uh, can be pretty much anything you qualify for. While the fighter feat is, it has to be a fighter feat, but that's still perfect. It's like for example, in one of the campaigns I'm going to be running, um, 2 of the feats that were picked for that person. Um, one was the first level feat that let them have access to skills that better went with their background, but also do stuff. The fighter feat was one of my favorite feats in its natural swimmer, it gives +4 to your swim speed, which because what that character has, having a -6 armor check penalty, they still have a +4 to their swim check because of this feat. Uh, but the other aspect of that feat is they get a hold breath of ×4 now. If they would have went with human, they could have, excuse me, set themselves up a little bit better by taking endurance, which would have been at level 3, or at second level, because this is also a fighter feat, they could have taken expert swimmer, which would have increased their hold breath ability by additional 1 time, while also making them swim faster. Uh, because they exactly, Michael Phelps in armor. Because the expert swimmer feat, you need 4 ranks in swim and endurance in order to get. And I love that feat because if you don't have natural swimmer, this feat still lets you hold your breath longer because it turns the base 2 into a 3. Coco, you can wait a few moments. You're not getting that food. I can smell it too. My mom's making a roast, and I can smell it. She can smell it. So she wants to go out and see what she can snack on, but she's not going to get the chance to snack on it. So she's being pouty right now, and because she wants to go in a way because she likes to be when you're in the kitchen, she likes to be in the way. So you step on her, or kick her, or trip on her because she refuses to not be out of the way. Coco, come here, come here, come here. Don't give me that like. No, sit down, down. You're a bloody nightmare. No, but I say it's like humans because of this, they can set themselves up better because like I said, exospemmer. If you have 4 ranks and endurance feet, so technically, this player could have done this. Your whole breath gets a ×3 instead of a ×2, and you swim faster than everyone else. This normally as a move action, you can swim at a quarter of your base land speed, which is always rounded down to the nearest 5, so it's 5 feet. Or as a full round action, you can swim at half your land speed, which is 15, which isn't very fast. And you still have to, in order to actually get that movement, you have to beat the DC, which if you're lucky, it's calm water, which is only a 10. If you fail by 5 or more, you actually go under. So being able to hold your breath for longer than normal works imperfectly. Uh, but what expert swimmer does for that is, as a move action, you swim at half your base land speed, which means you can do that. You can do half the number of actions you get in a turn, and turn and do something else while everyone else is struggling to keep up with you. As a forward action, you can swim to your maximum of your land speed. So it's like they do their full round turn, they move 15 feet, you're 30 feet. If you decide to go under, or if you somehow fail the check, you have a ×3 instead of a ×2, so you can hold your breath for on average a minute longer than everyone else. If you have natural swimmer, you're more likely to pass the check is a -4, but you're also now, because both those feet stack, you have a ×5. So it's like you can purposely go under the water for that huge amount of time. Everyone's going, did they drown? And then you pop up way over there just waving at them, going, you guys are slow, catch up. And humans at level 1 can pull that off if they go fighter. If they don't go fighter, they can still get 2 feet, which means they can still technically they can still do the expert swimmer and endurance, or natural swimmer and something else. But that's the thing, is because humans get that extra feat, whatever that feat is gives them that extra that extra kick, that extra thing that makes them do better. Uh, the other thing that humans have that's actually really good, and this particular trait means you don't have to rely on having a high intelligence. They start play with 4 extra skill points, and they get 1 additional skill point at every other level. So it's pretty much like they're being given a free +2 to their intelligence score without actually having a +2 to their intelligence score, which is really great because it helps fix skill related problems. Just one of the well, it all depends on like how low that dump stat is. Because uh, if it's a negative, it actually still helps because like you get your whatever your class is modified by your intelligence. So if you have like a -1, yeah, that's 4 extra skill points at level 1 you're not getting. But if you're human, the +4 you're getting counteracts that. So if you use intelligence as a dump stat, as long as it's not like a 7 or less, you're already counteracting that low intelligence because that +4 skill points at level 1, it's counteracting the loss you would have gotten, while the +1 at every other level is counteracting future losses. So it's a built-in countermeasure, so you can play the stupid human without actually worrying about lake down. I know you smell it. Stop. So you don't have to stress it. But like, even if you don't use it as a dump stat, you're still getting more skill points than someone else of a different race. Because in order for another race to counteract that, they have to have a bonus to intelligence. That's their only way to account it. Humans are like, we don't have a bonus to it, so the last really good trait is whatever class you take as level 1 is your favorite class. Meaning you can cross class with no XP penalties. Other races go, oh, my favorite class is this, my favorite class is that, which means if you want to cross class, that has to be one of the classes you go into, or you're facing immediate XP penalties. Humans, like I said, go, oh, my first level was fighter, so my favorite class is fighter. Ergo, when I go to cross class into cleric, I don't get XP penalties. The elves are, I think, like they're either sorcerer or wizard, one of those two. Two, yeah, wizard. They're like, oh, my favorite class is wizard, which means if I want to cross class, if I don't choose wizard as the class I'm cross classing into, or it's not my base class, immediately losing XP from that point on because they need it to be their favorite class in order for it to work. So that's why races that have like, oh, you get to pick like the Ratman, you pick the generic Ratman, you either pick fighter, no, not fighter, you either pick yeah, sorry, it's fighter or ranger. You pick one of those two when you curate the character. It doesn't have to, you don't have to immediately take levels in it, in one of those two. You just get to pick one. And if you decide to cross class into it, you can't. That's considered a powerful trait because it's not limited to this one over here. It's limited to one of these two. So humans being able to go whatever my first level is, boom, that's my favorite class. It it's one of those underappreciated facts. Because there's been multiple times in the past where I've ran a game where party members not overthinking, I mean, not overthinking, not really thinking about cross classing go, I'm going to be an elf, but I'm going to go as an elf and fighter. And then after like 5 or 6 levels, they're like, I'm going to go into cleric. And then they wonder why when I'm dishing out XP, they're getting less XP than everyone else. It's like, it's because you cross class. They're like, but he's not getting it. It's like, well, he's human, so he's a fighter barbarian. He's not getting XP penalties because he started as a fighter, and because he's human, that became his favorite class. So, well, why don't I? It's like because your favorite class is wizard. You that's none of your classes. So of course you're losing 50% of your XP right there because the class you cross class into is not your favorite class. So because humans have that bonus of whatever my first is it it makes the character technically that much more powerful, that much more greater, because they can freely cross class once before taking any XP penalties, while everyone else has to stress their favorite class. Uh, and when it comes to stat bonuses for their abilities, they're not exposed to get any at all. That is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't pick humans. It's because they want stat adjustments. They don't want a couple things that look good, but then they say aren't. They want to have their stats get increased, and they want a shit ton of racial abilities, which is like that's not a good reason to play a race, or that's not a good reason not to play a race. Um, it's like I have two examples of two people who have an opinion. I'm not going to say their names, even though one of those people you're going to probably go, "Oh, I know who that is." But there's one person that started out because he didn't want to be like everyone else, so he just picked human. Okay, it's generic human. He gets base stuff. He wasn't concerned about having high stats or anything. He just wanted to play. But because of everyone making fun of him, insulting him, saying he picked the stupidest race, the weakest race, the most pathetic race there, he kind of got put into the don't even think about it, dog. The mindset of I'm gonna be aggressively pro human now. Like, well, it's because he didn't have to try to prove they were effective. He just did a bunch of stuff, succeeded at a bunch of stuff, survived longer than anyone else, didn't have anywhere near the problems of anyone else. And anytime anyone went, well, why don't you pick a different? It's like, why would I pick it? Humans are best. The human, the best. And it's like, yeah, there's really no problems with humans. Uh, and it's like he just got so stuck on being aggressively pro-human to in some at some points he was like, why aren't you playing human? You have no reason not to play human. It's like, well, another person was on the other side of the point, and part of their big thing is they don't want to play human because they're a human every day in their normal life. They want to play something non-human because it's different. It's just they don't want to be them in the game. Yeah. Uh, and that particular outlook has caused several other people to switch from their reasoning to that reasoning, uh, because that's a better argument, that's a better reasoning to not play a human than what a lot of other people went with. It's like a person who adapted that mindset, you know, does that individual will if they watch this stream, they'll probably have an issue with me saying this. That's why I'm not calling out their names. Um, Started out with not wanting to play humans because they literally didn't get any benefits. This race gets benefits because, oh, hey, it can fly. It has stat adjustments. I get to do all this over here. Here, humans can't do that, so why am I going to play a human? They don't get anything. They suck. I get bonuses to this stat here because if I pick this race, I get those. It's like, so you're picking the race because it has a bonus to a stat. What's the problem with that? It's like, it's not necessarily a bad reason to pick a race, but it's just not a good one. It's like picking Ratman because you want to have a high con. It's not a bad reason, but it's like you've played a Ratman. There's a lot to being a Ratman. They're culturally, it's weird. They're culturally weird. They're long lived. They have particular viewpoints on particular things, but several people like them simply because they get the biggest stat boost to con out of pretty much everyone, and it's all of the different breeds get it. Uh, and it's like Mm. So it's like, it is going? I'm gonna have is picking it because you want to have a high survival rate. Good. Yes, because it has a huge con boost, which means you're starting with more hit points. Your better fortitude saving throws against diseases and poison. So it's like, yay, you can hold your breath naturally longer than everyone else simply because you have a con of Y. Your con gets to be your dump stat. That's how good the bonus is. So it's like, yay. But then is there people who go, I don't want to play a rat? It's like, okay, you're not gonna play that race because you don't want to be a rat. That's logical because they don't want to play a rat. It means they're looking at more than just the statistic benefits of the race. They're looking more at the race itself. While there's other people who go, I want to have that boost. It's like there's another person who picked the foamer specifically out of the rat folk because it gave a big bonus to strength, big bonus to dex, and a huge bonus to con because they wanted to be a beat stick cleric and just beat the crap out of stuff. But because they took a hit to intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, they weren't as good as a cleric as they wanted to be. It didn't until they reached higher level where they were able to fix those bad parts before they were able to actually be a better cleric. But they went simply because they saw the big bonuses to the stats and then went for the stats. And it obviously went for the stats because they then immediately because they didn't think it through about how they should have picked a different class simply because of where they put stuff. Because they didn't have their con be a dump stat. They had it up one of their best stats into it because they wanted a shit ton of hit points. They wanted to not necessarily rely on heavy armor, so they took the big bonus to dex, put it in a decent stat, so they had a high dex, and they wanted to just consistently have a good to hit and damage ratio. So of course they had a really good point where they had a minus in charisma, uh, yeah, they had crappy mental stats. So they were limited on what spells they could cast till they hit a certain level. They were limited on the DCs for their spells. They were limited on how good effective they were against turning undead, simply because they didn't think it through, because they were so centered on the huge bonuses they got. Uh, then there's the fact that they have a ridiculous swim speed. It's like for a species that's not supposed to be aquatic, aquatic, they have a why are they swimming faster than they can run? So it's like that's ridiculous. And then they had a +10 to swim. It's like that's better than most aquatic races because there's aquatic races that have swim speeds and then a bonus, but the bonus 9 out of 10 times never goes higher than an 8. There's some that it's 4, there's some that it's 6. 8 is like the cutoff point. Here's a race that's like, oh, I'm just a rat that can swim well. I have a +10. It's like you can roll a 1, and if you take their strength bonus into account and you roll a 1 with no skills or anything in it and not counting armor or anything, they're sitting with a 13 minimum with no ranks, no armor check penalties, no feats or anything. That's calm water they're passing every single time. It's rough water they have to worry about. And because they have the swim speed, they only have to worry about making those checks to avoid hazards. But it's still, at minimum, they're getting a +12 to the die roll, not counting any other modifiers, which is ridiculous for something to have double digits, even though it's low double digits, to go straight at level 1, go, oh, I have a +12. That's not a class skill for you. And you have nothing in it. And I don't have any negatives because I'm not wearing armor either. It's like, why is it so good? It's like, because I'm a rat, biatch. Watch me flex. Yeah. Yeah, so it gets really ridiculous. So you end up with people looking at just one aspect of it, and not even actually utilizing the other stuff or taking into account a lot of the other stuff, because you have to kind of remind them of it. You kind of have to go, oh, this here, that there, yay, because they get narrow sighted on it. And humans are one of the races that gets overlooked because it doesn't have anything to stats. Now, I will make the note that the humans in my world I use do have stat bonuses, where you pick three stats. Those three stats go up by 2 points. So my humans actually have a stat thing, but to keep it in line with the adaptability of a human, the versatile of the human, it's not, oh, it has to be these three here. It has to be a two here, one here. It's pick three stats, they go up. Preferably, pick the stats that are go well with your class or help you get out of some sort of pickle. Like increase your strength so you can carry more. Increase your con so you have more hit points. Or if you're trying to do stuff with skills, have a slightly higher intelligence. But the humans of my world have that bonus, not to keep up with other races, but to be more of a versatile race, and the fact that it technically, to a certain degree, doesn't make sense that to not have it. So even though in my world, depending on what city state you're from, some of the humans will prioritize some statistics over others. But in general term, it's if you want to be a bard, you need a good charisma, a good dexterity, and a decent intelligence. Because you need the charisma for a lot of your class abilities for like bardic mutes and stuff. You need to be able to pass certain DCs. You need high intelligence because you need enough ranks, because some of the bardic stuff requires you to have X amount of ranks inside a perform skill to use that ability. So if you don't have the skill points, you don't if you don't have the high enough intelligence, you don't have the skill points to actually pull it off like you want. The dexterity is because they technically are great dex fighters. So going with finesse weapon, we taking away for finesse with a finesse weapon makes sense for them. Because they just make good dex based fighters. Uh, but then also goes into just how versatile humans really are, is because they technically are good at any class. Well, theoretically, they are good at any class they're set up with. Because other classes, due to they have this bonus here and this minus here, can be considered not good in those classes. Some classes kind of makes those races more narrow, while humans are, I'm just good. That's why the most famous mages are human. Mordecai and Odaluk, both human. The best leadership that actually, like, you can say without a doubt are actually good leaders are human. A lot of the good guys that are just famous good guys in a lot of the books, human. It's also one of the reasons why a lot of the really good bad guys are also human. It's like, technically speaking, Vecna is an undead human. He's not undead elf. He's not a dwarf. He's a human that became a lich who became a god. It's also why liches, vampires, ghouls, wights are all, the base statistic, are human. It's because humans make the best versions of those undead, because they're not so stickler. They're not so. It's like, even in Ravenloft, the best vampires are human, even though they have special strains for elves, for gnomes, for dwarves, for halflings. The strains that are best when they're human. And I'm not saying that like Panda, I'm saying because it's actually true. The best, strongest vampires, the best, strongest undead, the best, strongest monsters are human in origin. And it's due to their versatility. It's due to them being able to be literally whatever they're molded into. While other races, because of favorite class, because of stat adjustments, because of certain things they get, pushes them in one direction, like or even like two directions. Humans are wherever the compass points me. So they do make great. Then the fact that they breed like rabbits, their willingness to go to locations and do stuff there that other races rather not means they get to just be anywhere and everywhere they want. And that's why when you look at a lot of these fantasy worlds, a majority of the population globally is human. And it's like because they just are. There's no one from my experience has been able to go, well, they're the most populated race in the world because of these factors here. It's like no one's ever done that. And my only reasons is their adaptability, their ability to make friends and be really good allies to any race that's willing to go that path. Yeah, it's because we're considered highly adaptable, and it doesn't also hurt the fact that with using real life stuff, humans after a couple generations will start developing traits to let them better survive in that environment. That does cause minor problems in other parts of the world if they go there, um, because their physiology stuff says like, oh, I'm better in colder environments. Um, I'm better dealing in an environment that has a lot more water stuff in it, high humidity, strong winds. Go somewhere, it's like, okay, there's no strong wind here, but there's low humidity. That can screw with your system. It's not cold, it's really hot. It's the opposite. So it's like they have a lot of stuff that causes them problems, and it takes them a while, but after a while, they can get used to it to the point where it doesn't bother them that much anymore. Like when I went from Washington to Virginia, because of the humidity difference, I was constantly getting bloody noses because of the humidity difference. I eventually grew out of that, but that's because humans have the ability to, after a while, they get used to the environment, they can deal with the environment, and then after several generations, they have people who can do that. Other races aren't so lucky because they are more environmentally inclined to want to stay in a certain environment. It's also why some of the other races have environments added into their name. Dwarves, you have hill dwarves, which is standard dwarf, but you also have like mountain dwarves, sun dwarves. Uh, my brain's farting on several other ones, but like they have in some sort of environmental thing part of their name that tells you pretty much tells you where they like to be. Hill dwarfs like hills, mountain dwarfs like mountains. Sun dwarfs, despite it or not, have a lot to do with the Underdark, despite their name. Yes, it's common for them that build keeps and or castles, either adjacent or on a entrance to the Underdark to stop stuff from the Underdark from getting up to the surface. It is a very good thing, which means out of all the dwarves, they actually have legit knowledge of the Underdark and the stuff that's down there. Um, but like, humans, when it comes to like, different appearances and stuff, so if you add in any geological locational differences, like using my world as an example, there is Oposa, which is there's the origins for those people are as Madagascar. So if you go look up any images of people from Madagascar, you'll notice that firstly, they're black. Secondly, they're not necessarily known for being a girthy. All the stuff I've seen of them, they're leaner, wirely built. They're not weak or anything, but they have less fat content than a lot of other people. But then if you go to the northern continent where there's actually like a city state based on Russia, there's one that's Finnish, one that's Swedish. They're white. They're way they like to stand tall. They actually look they're ways more affected in their appearance. They're not just tall, but they actually have, like, you can see, like, the guts, you can see the bigger muscles and stuff. It's because geologically speaking, they're more prone to that. Then there's one city state that's based on Indonesian. So yeah, of course they look like they're Asian. They're Indonesian, but they're also more tanner and technically on average shorter than the rest of the people. Dog, stop. You can wait. It's not time for us to end the stream yet. Don't look at the time. We're having too much fun. Um, but yeah, it's a yeah. Once you get into uh geological differences in terrain, the distances between the different actual population centers, you get into those differences, and those differences can reflect that these people here, they like this warmer temperature than this people here that like up like over here, they like the colder temperature. So they're more keen to want to stay there. But unlike other races, uh, like in my world, even though there's no new age of expansion yet, when it comes to like people going from one continent to another, it's more like they're starting to expand away from the city states because the war with the Titan is over. So they people are just now starting to get comfortable to expand because they feel safe enough to do it. Um, Eventually, there's going to become a point where if that peace holds, it'll become a new era of expanse where you end up with people from some of the city states, from so like some of the humans from the city states that are like Swedish. You can end up will eventually find them all the way down in Oposa because the age of expansion happened where they were able to actually safely and financially migrate, not visit, not become merchant marines as part of a merchant ship or anything like that, but actually families were able to afford and safely be able to get to those locations to settle in those locations because even though there's already humans there, there's no Swedish people there. While the other races are going to be more inclined to just not do that because like I don't like the like it. It's not that cold. Like for instance, the Nizumi, they like the colder temperatures of the northern continent, so they're going to be less inclined to go to the other continents because they like the fact that it's colder there. It's not vastly colder, but they generally like the colder temperature. Then you have the rat men that are almost as bad as humans because they're like it's their food, it's their water. Can I eventually get housing? Yes, let's go. Um, because of their long lives, their natural resistance to environmental negatives, because like again, they have a huge con bonus. Even if you apply the statistical penalties for children, they start with that huge boost, which means their children have a higher rate of surviving environmental based problems than any other race. Why? Because a lot of environmental problems for heat related and cold related require either at their core con checks or fortitude checks. Either which way, having that huge bonus to con means they're more likely to pass con checks and they're more likely to pass fortitude checks. Then you have the fact that they don't just have one child, they have on the words of four children. So even though they have the same life expectancy of elves, so each one of their generations is roughly 100 years apart from one another. Uh, they're able to heavily populate an area relative quickly than other races because it's like, oh, royalty four, that's how many children this one had. Because of their less likelihood to have less likelihood of the child to die at any particular point goes down because of that huge con. That's why the human versatility and the survivability of the Ratman is why those two races are everywhere. The only difference is in humans have actual physical characteristics that make them look different. Height, slight weight, skin color, the way hair likes to grow. While Ratmen, there's four breeds, and each one is just as good in any environment they go to because they just are. And there is no real color difference, no height or anything like that, because they just keep their general physique, they keep their general hair color. There's no like these ones over here are more brown white, while these ones here are more like black and silvery. It's whatever's whatever. Um, but the only reason why they're not like the only race left in the world is because they again, it's 100 years for one to mature. So it's like there's literally an entire century between generation one and generation two. Uh, Coco, stop. So it's like that's why they're not like so perforated everywhere. Unlike humans, that's like okay, 8 months. After that, you have to wait 15 years, and that's using game, not real life stuff. Does they reach adulthood at 15? So in game, theoretically, it's 15 years between each legit generation, uh, which means several generations of humans would have come and gone before there's even a next Ratman generation, which means humans are still breeding a lot faster simply because faster maturation rate between them. Uh, yeah, exactly. Does I'm actually gonna go to that final statistics. Uh, because it will help anyone who decides to listen to this do it. Uh, because um, I don't know why when I'm looking at this, it doesn't show our cameras. Uh, it should there. It's like right up there when it reaches adulthood. The only race that beats people to adulthood are half orcs, but they're also half human. Does humans reach adulthood at 15, dwarves 40, elves 110, gnomes 40, half elves 20, half orcs 14, halflings 20. And even though generally they have the same incubation period, uh, the fact that the only race that can technically outpace humans based on uh, who reach adulthood first are half orcs technically isn't a beat because they're half human, so it's like a partial point count on their part. Um, but if we go up to here, uh, there is the. Oh, is it not gonna? Gotta do this. Okay, there's some sort of internet problem because we disconnected to reconnect. Um, we'll when we're done with this, we'll end it. Uh, no, but if you look, yeah, but I'll blame society. But if we look at the maximum age for races, the absolute maximum, and this is without the aid of magical items, feats, or magic or anything like that. Humans have an absolute maximum of 90. That that may seem like a long time, but relative to the other races, it's not. The half orc you're dead. Yeah, because the way you way you get your character's maximum age is you take two die 20, roll them, add them together, and then add 70 to it. So their maximum age is somewhere between 72 and 90. So unless there's a feat you can take that will prolong how long your character can live. There's a potion, powerful potion. You can, if you have the money, you can do to actually uh, technically reset your age. There's a couple magical items that can help, but unless you're able to get a hold of those, 90 is your absolute max. Half orcs, it's 80. So they live just shy of a decade younger than their full-blooded humans. Half elves can live to 185, over twice that of a pure-blooded human. Now, when it comes to other races, you have the halflings that can live up to a maximum of 200 years. Which is funny because they're out of these races. They're pretty much they're the small race. The atypical whenever one thinks of a tiny race, they think halfling, and they can reach 90, they can reach um, ripe old age of 200, which is 110 years longer than a human can. Uh, right above them in the thing. In that left, you have the gnomes, which actually no, the gnomes might be the. It's 400. Ah, okay. This is fun if you look at the boom. Um, that's yeah. No, it's actually 12. Dwarves. Dwarves can get up to 450 maximum. And that's because it's 2% tile, which is 2 die 100s added together and added 250 to it. So 450 is the absolute maximum. Then you get into gnomes that can get up to 500. Elves can get up to 750, which is that's a very long time for a race to. So not counting the half races because those are technically giving points to humans. Um, Everything else lives at minimum 100 plus years older. Uh, and even though if you take a little bit of time between the maturation rates of them, it still doesn't help the fact that like the elves being able to live 750 years maturing at 110 means they have 650 years of breeding to do if they want to breed. But that's still multiple generations of humans happening before they even reach maturity. And that's even vastly more by the time they reach actual true max age. Yeah. So when it comes to, it's like humans are the fastest growing societies, fastest growing kingdoms. They seem to pop up and blink out of existence in entire lifespans of several of the other races, simply because of how fast human societies rise and fall. So like an elf can literally be born and live through multiple eras of human society. It's like technically speaking, if elves exist today, there's elves that could probably tell you how the fall of the Roman Empire actually happened. because there would have been elves keeping records of it because they literally would have lived through they would have lived through the history pre, during, and after the Roman Empire. So there would have been elven documents that would be extremely accurate because it wasn't multiple people doing it. It wasn't multiple people gathering other multiple people's source of information. It would have just been them. It would be nice if we had a better complete history of what happened during the world period. But humans and our growing society have had our problems. It's like the Dark Ages that technically slowed down our progress for several centuries. If the Dark Ages haven't happened, there's a good chance that we would be doing this on the moon. And I'm not even like if you look at like technological charts and advancement of human society, it goes like it's a starts so and then starts growing high, and then Black Ages, the Dark Ages, where everything kind of just went back some and stayed stagnant for several centuries before then skyrocketing again. Because if you go back like 100 years in like the 1920s, it's a pipe dream that me and you would be talking like this as we are. It'll be like that's impossible. It would have been so sci-fi that people would be like, no, that can never happen or anything like that, and it would be most likely less favorable because it's like it's so unbelievable. Planes that can Yeah, pretty much. It is. It is. It's like when it came to airplanes, it went from "we can't do that, that's impossible" to two guys in a garage going "yes, we can" to now we have planes that fly so freaking fast that if you don't have special equipment and or training, you'll black out and cause it to crash and die. Yeah, it's like we have we have planes that can literally like airdrop tanks. Not like a tiny little tank, not like actual like Abrams can be airdropped. There's like I think like the biggest cargo plane can like transport like somewhere from like 2 or 3 Abrams because of how big it is and how much weight it can fucking carry. Do you know how fucking scary that is? An Abram is not a light tank. It has a decent. Yeah, that's a lot of weight, and here's a plane that can go put two of them in me plus some extra shit. Let's do this. It's like, yeah. Then there's the fact that the Moab is literally airdropped in by those planes. Yeah, it's scary as enough it is. This is like we want to use one of the biggest Ds, and we want to make sure it gets there. Plane going, I got your back, bro. Boop. Um, It's like even if you go back like 60 years ago, you don't even have to go back 100 years. You can go 60 years ago and go, "Oh yeah, we have the ability to send people to live in outer space." No, you don't. That's a pipe dream. Yeah, uh it's like do you know how many it's like I remember people saying like in the early 2000s that video calls are like a thing of the far future because it's so problematic to do it. Internet problems, speed problems, delay problems, but yet here me and you are talking like we might as well be in the same room. Actually, they're technically older than that because the first actual cell phones are from like the 70s. No, no, the cell phones that were actually considered like civilian cell phones to be used, it was in the like it was after the Vietnam War. that they were actually seeing civilian use. You would see them in cars. It's the big block ones. It There was a shit ton of them made. They were actually mass produced. No one actually had them because they were expensive to use, expensive to have. Uh, Cell phones that worked as computers is what you're talking about. Not cell phones as a whole, but cell phones that worked to do more than just phone calls. Uh, well, I'm not saying you didn't, but the ones that actually had the capability to do more than just be used for communications started in the 2000s. Yeah. So like the stuff that's inspiration for this phone here is less than 20 years old, not the actual concept but the ability to do it. Yeah, yeah. uh yeah, and it's like if we were to take this phone, go back to the early 2000s, people are going to be like, what do you mean you can surf the internet? What do you mean you can play legit games? Exactly. um I hate that sound. It's like what do you mean it's connecting to satellites? um uh oh Yes, final spotlight at humans because again they are one of the greatest underdog races. Um, Taking into account their high versatility, their short-lived lives, their highly adaptive nature, and there is no wrong way to play a human, technically speaking, because humans technically fit pretty much any role given to the human, any stereotype, anything there. They can be labeled as highly adaptive and highly supportive and all that nonsense because they are what you would call the foundation race that made the entire everything else technically possible. Because if you remove humans from a lot of it, a lot of other races would not be where they're at due to problems with other races. For instance, using Greyhawk as an example again, if you remove humans from the world, the orcs from the Pomarsh would have already conquered a huge swath of the area. They would be inhabiting where the Dominion is. The Empire of Selene, which is right there by the Promarsh, wouldn't exist because the orcs from Promarsh, whenever they do their push, their numbers and their strengths atypically always outdid the elves. Even though the elves were like better craftsmen, longer lived lives means they have slightly better stuff there. But it's the sheer fact that the orcs are like, oh, we outnumber you a lot. And it's usually every 50 to 60 years they do their big push, which means there's somewhere between, there's usually two of these mass invasions before you have before you have an entire generation actually become adulthood. So unless you're throwing children at them, the elves can't compete. They end up losing. They don't breed as fast. They take longer to mature, and like all this stuff. So a huge portion of the world would be not how it is if you remove humans. Both the good and the bad. Just like, yeah, you wouldn't have like Vecna, you wouldn't have all these other evil entities in the world, but at the same time, you wouldn't have their counterparts that let the world exist in the state it's in. So even though a majority of people will spit on humans, insult humans, make them to be the weakest, most pathetic race possible, they're ignoring all the rich history and all of what I have a dog staring at the door. One more moment and we'll do the outro, baby. Um, So they're forgetting, like I said, they're forgetting all of the contributions humans made, and it's all from a race they think is stupid. They think is pathetic. They think isn't worth playing because it doesn't get anything. The world, it's one of those. If there's no humans there, it's like, do the humans know about it? Like that's why there's no humans there. Like even in places that are deemed too hostile for anyone to live in, there's humans. It's like in the dry steppe. Coco, come here. In the dry steppes, which is the most hostile place in the Greyhawk Iron world. There's humans there. You'd find ruins of ancient human civilizations, and then you can find pockets of humans surviving. You don't really find any of the other races unless they're some of the more vile, evil races that are there to kill you. But it's also one of those things that if these entities live there and they're so powerful and fierce that no other race wants to go there, how is the weakest race there then? Why is the humans in this desert with no humidity, so you can't even try to do humidity collectors? There's next to no water anywhere. Where there is water, there's vicious monsters there to keep you from that water. Yeah, the, there's vicious sandstorms, temperature so hot they'll literally cook you. Like if you the average temperature is every like, on a good day, every 10 minutes you're taking fire damage simply because of how hot it is. Uh, but then it goes into why are there humans there then? Why is the only race that can survive there humans? No one can answer it. Yeah. So to summarize everything, to put humans in their nice little box so we can finish up this episode. Humans uh, are the underdog race. They're the least favorite, but yet they are the pinnacle of anything and everything. They're both the best bad guys, the best good guys, the best friend, the best second best friend you're ever gonna have, because they're just that good at it. There's really no other way to actually summarize it up or anything like that other than they are a lot better of a race to play than people say or think, simply because people overlook what they're capable of doing. Uh, so, with that summary said, thank you, viewers who stopped by to say hi and watched. You're much appreciated. Uh, well, we're still at one viewer, and it's been a while since that person joined. So, yeah, thank you. For anyone that sees this, thank you for your view. And me and my co-host here bid you adieu. Thank you for watching.